Good morning, this is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channels. I can see you on my part series. The week that was, college football history review. The 1957 college football season. I began a new season. I concluded the 1956 season yesterday. Now it's a new year I'm going to be talking about, chronicling for the time being. This is the 1957 college football season, where it was the year of the end to Oklahoma's 47, the probation champions, and Wolfpack Road Warriors. On road, the pigskin colossus known as the Oklahoma Sooners, winning their first 7 games to extend the longest winning streak in football history to 47. Oklahoma reached that point by beating Missouri 39-14 on November 9th. The following Saturday, Notre Dame came to Norman for a nationally televised game. Anticipation for the showdown had been high when the Fighting Irish reversed their losing trend of 1956 with 4 straight wins to open the 1957 season. Interest quickly waned, however, as Notre Dame lost 2 straight contests to top draw teams, Navy and Michigan State, just prior to the Oklahoma game on November 16, 1957, a date that will live in Oklahoma football infamy. The Fighting Irish took early control against the Sooners, built their confidence in a nail-biting, scoreless fight, and punched across a fourth quarter touchdown by halfback Dick Lynch for a 7-0 upset. Notre Dame's win over the Sooners was one of several big upsets in 1957. Texas A&M won 8 games until Rice sprung a 7-6 shocker to steal the Southwest Conference spot in the Cotton Bowl. Had it not occurred on the same day as the Notre Dame upset at Norman, Rice's win might have been hailed as one of the great upsets ever, since the top-ranked Aggies seemed invincible with 14 straight wins. Instead, the Owls barely caused a blip on the radar screen of the year's upsets. Everyone interested in football in 1957 will surely remember the news of Oklahoma's upset loss. Only a precious few Owls loyalists still remember the upset authored by Rice in Houston on the same afternoon. Meanwhile, the upset surprises loom large, as Purdue so often adorned on the side of the Spartans of Michigan State beat them again 20-13. North Carolina spurting occasionally in Coach Jim Tatum's second season at the Chapel Hill helm dropped the only defeat on Cotton Bowl-bound Navy. North Carolina State was a complete surprise, but lost to the least likely team on its schedule, the mediocre William & Mary. With Oklahoma out of the way, Peck's bad boys, the Auburn Tigers, became the only team ever to win the AP National Championship while cooling its heels on bowl probation. The 1957 Tigers displayed one of the greatest defenses ever, permitting opponents a mere 2.8 points per game whilst pitching 6 shutouts. Cornerstones of the defense were nose guard Zeke Smith, linebacker Jackie Burkett, and ends Jim Phillips and Jerry Wilson. And converted halfback Lloyd Nix, the Tigers had one of the most unsung national champion quarterbacks ever. Southpaw Nix completed only 33 passes, one of the lowest totals for a passer, leading a top-ranked team in the modern span of history since 1953. But the intelligent Nix marshaled a fast-striking option attack that featured tail halfbacks Tommy Lorino and Bobby Hop, and fullback Billy Atkins, who scored many key touchdowns. Starting the season with the 15th spot in the AP rankings, Auburn fell to the pole when it didn't play during the first week, and re-entered at number 7 after shutting out number 8 Tennessee in the season opener. The Tigers hopped to 5th after blanking Georgia Tech in mid-October and even trailed one loss, number 1 Michigan State in the November 18th poll. Had the Associated Press staged a post-bowl poll, it is conspicuously possible that Rose Bowl champion Ohio State could have snatched Auburn's AP title. Michigan State coach Duffy Daugherty lauded the coaching job done by Auburn's Shug Jordan. It was a great accomplishment for Auburn to go undefeated when they knew all along there would be no reward in the bowl game, said Daugherty. Jordan did a magnificent job of keeping up team morale and is bound to be a close-knit unit that allows so few touchdowns. Woody Hayes, meanwhile, Ohio State Buckeyes had stumbled late in 1956, losing their last 2 Big Ten games to Iowa and Michigan after sweep record 17 league wins in a row. The Buckeyes rebounded in 1957, sweeping 7 Big Ten foes without having to play AP's eventual number 3 Michigan State. With Auburn on probation, the Buckeyes were picked number 1 in UPI coaches poll at the end of the regular season. Led by guards Aurelius Thomas and Jim Houston, halfback Don Clark, late blooming fullback Bob White, the Buckeyes were heavy favorites in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State's Pasadena opponent was highly disparaged Oregon, with UCLA, Southern California, and Washington remaining on conference probation and the PCC on its last legs. The West Coast had little to offer by way of opposition to the Big Ten, which had built a 10-1 record in Rose Bowl since 1947. Yet Oregon outplayed Ohio State, fighting fiercely all day and losing only 10-7, truly a gigantic moral victory. Ducks quarterback Jack Crabtree's short pass to end Ron Stover confounded Ohio State's vaunted defense, but Oregon gained most of its yardage between the 20-yard lines. An unheralded giant turned out to be North Carolina State, surprise champion of the ACC. The Wolfpack, coming off a 3-7 mark in 1956, proved to be excellent road warriors as they opened the season with 5 games away from Raleigh and went undefeated except for a scoreless tie against up and down Miami, until this unusual scheduling irregularity fell out of the use in the 1970s. Non-university division teams between 1953 and 1969 opened with as many as 5 games on the road, not counting neutral site games or alternate home sites. Only one, the 1957 North Carolina State team, ever came home without defeat. Although a nod must be given to George Washington University, which opened 5-1 in 1955, losing only at Florida. Now back at home, the pack was tied by Duke that would go to the Orange Bowl because NC State, like Auburn, was on probation. Halfback Dick Christie played an unbelievable game against South Carolina on November 23rd and became the first ever Wolfpack All-America. But Christie and his teammates couldn't prevent the 1-point upset loss to William and Mary, played, you guessed it, in Riddick Stadium in Raleigh. Darrell Royal made his debut at Texas, and produced an unexpected second-place finish in the Southwest Conference on the Sugar Bowl trip. But Mississippi dominated the Longhorns by 39-7 in New Orleans behind the brilliant play of quarterback Ray Brown. And it will only be the beginning of Texas greatness under Coach Royal, the former quarterback tutored by Bud Wilkinson at Oklahoma in the late 1940s. Lee Ross Cup, talented Utah passer, broke the passing percentage record for more than 50 attempts but fewer than 150 of Alabama's Harry Gilman, which had stood since 1945. Playing his last game against Utah State on Thanksgiving Day, Ross Cup finished his season having completed 94 of 137 throws for a new record percentage of 68.6. The record failed to last long because Don Meredith, slinging sophomore star of Southern Methodist, completed his season 9 days later in early December and set another percentage mark of 69.6 on 71 completions in 102 attempts. Still, the greatest moment of the season was Notre Dame's upset of record-setting Oklahoma. What of Oklahoma's amazing string of 47 wins in a row? Can it ever be broken? One is inclined to offer a resounding yes, given that 2 recent teams really have come within one undefeated season of catching Oklahoma's 47 in a row. Miami Hurricanes captured 34 straight wins from September 2000 to January 2003. On the other hand, Southern California also won 34 games in a row from 2003 through its regular season finale of 2005. What Miami and USC had in common is precisely the biggest stumbling block to 47 wins, because each juggernaut lost in the BCS championship game. Miami in double overtime to Ohio State in the 2003 Fiesta Bowl, and Southern California to Texas in the 2006 Rose Bowl. Remember, the mid-1950s had a rule preventing teams from 2 straight bowl trips, so the Sooners faced the highly ranked bowl opponent only twice, Maryland both times in the Orange Bowl during their run. Any multi-year undefeated team in the future will be forced into a BCS championship final bowl game 3 or perhaps 4 times. Could one team win such pressure-packed games against the nation's number 2 team 4 times in a row? We can count on one historical hand the number of teams that have won 4 straight bowls games of any sort, let alone bowls against the perceived second-best team. If the BCS were to die, a tiered championship might replace it, a system that would be either more difficult to scale with at least 2 postseason games against top 10 teams. On the other hand, the only possibility of beating Oklahoma's mark likely will hinge on a broad increase in the number of games, perhaps as many as 20 in a year, that a future playoff system might provide to a given team. Perhaps then a great team could run off 34 or 35 wins with essentially the same personnel over a 2-year period. That appears to be unlikely as a scenario given the current aversion for complex playoffs among college presidents and TV networks. So even with 4 extra games, that gigantic 16-team playoffs would offer a given champion. That future juggernaut will have to wrap at least 12 other consecutive wins around the front or back of a 2-year run. So with genuine parity in college football, apparently here for good, superstar players leaving early for the NFL, top-notch teams of today completely turn over their rosters in 3 years. Only a major overhaul in the landscape of college football, like a schedule bonus of 5 or 6 extra games, will allow Oklahoma record to be beaten. No way. It simply can't be done. The milestones that took place in 1957 was Oklahoma A&M announced name change to Oklahoma State University. Oklahoma A&M announced name change to Oklahoma State University. It was admitted to newly named Big 8 Conference starting play in 1960. University of Detroit, in its last move before dropping football in 1964, left Missouri Valley Conference to become independent. Former independent Cincinnati replaced Detroit in Missouri Valley Conference. Colorado A&M College, a member of Skyline 8, changed its name to Colorado State University. My longest winning streaks entering the 1957 season was Oklahoma with 40 consecutive wins, Central Michigan with 15 consecutive wins, and Wyoming with 11 consecutive wins. Coaching changes took place in 1947 with incoming coaches like Ed Doherty for Arizona, Pete Elliott of California, Aldo Buff Donnelly of Columbia, John Yovixson, Harvard, Hal Lohar, Houston, Bob Hicks, Indiana, Frank Burley's Missouri, Bill Jennings, Nebraska, Dick Coleman, Princeton, Don Clark, Southern California, Bill Meek, Southern Methodist, Darrell Royal, Texas, Ben Collins, Texas Western, Jim Owens, Washington, and Bob Devaney in Wyoming. At AP preseason poll had Oklahoma at preseason number 1, number 2 was Texas A&M, number 3 Michigan State, 4 Minnesota, number 5 Tennessee. The rest of the top 10 had Michigan number 6, number 7 Baylor, number 8 Pittsburgh, number 9 Iowa, number 10 Duke, number 11 Georgia Tech, Navy 12, Oregon State number 13, Miami Hurricanes number 14, Auburn 15, Penn State 16, Ohio State 17, Notre Dame 18, Southern California 19, and Kentucky number 20. The college football season 1957 started on September 20th, 1957 on a Friday when UCLA played Air Force, where on a Friday UCLA beat Air Force in a shutout 47-0. Flu-stricken Florida had to bow out of matchup. Flu-stricken Florida had to bow out of matchup with UCLA. So highly inexperienced Air Force on short notice was offered LA Coliseum ambush. After poor Air Force punt went out of bounds at its own 38-yard line, UCLA blocking back Steve Gertzman nabbed opening 11-yard touchdown pass from tailback Kirk Wilson midway through the first quarter. Bruins added 19 points in the second quarter, highlighted by a tailback Chuck Kendall's 24-yard touchdown pass to end Dick Wallen, beat tight coverage of Air Force halfback defensive back Phil Lane. Each of UCLA's tailbacks, Kendall, Wilson, and Don Long, ran in for second half touchdowns of 9, 3, and 5-yard respectively. Falcons, in their first attempt at big-time football, blocked 2 conversion kicks, nearly scored twice, but UCLA defensive end Jim Steffen made an interception at the 20-yard line, and Air Force was stopped on downs at Bruins' 10-yard line. Navy beat Boston College 46-6. Navy was ranked number 12 when they beat Boston College 46-6. Crowd at dedication of new on-campus stadium at Boston College included an ex-king of Belgium. A festive atmosphere was ruined by relentless Navy offense, directed by quarterback Tom Forrestal, who had 141 yards passing, 8 of 14 passing, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Middies gained 212 yards rushing, 212 yards passing, as halfback Ned Odom scored twice. Eagles' touchdown was delivered in second quarter by a beautiful 94-yard touchdown bound thrown from their own end zone by quarterback Don Allard to halfback Tom Sullivan, who caught ball at the Navy 40-yard line and had clear sailing the rest of the way. Number 1 Oklahoma beat number 8 Pittsburgh by a score of 26-0. A sellout crowd at Pitt Stadium anticipated upset because Panthers were perceived to have best chance during 1957 to end Oklahoma's long winning streak. Instead, Sooners, with only 3 starters back from the 1956 national champions, breezed to their 41st straight victory and seemed poised to sweep their schedule for the 4th straight year in a row. Oklahoma halfback Jakey Sandefur and quarterbacks Carl Dodd and David Baker all pitched touchdown passes after making stands in 7-0 first half at own 18 and 33-yard lines, holding on with quarterback defensive back Bill Keldan's interception at 10-yard line and defensive tackle Jim McCusker's fumble recovery in their own end zone. Pitt lost 2 fumbles in the third quarter that led to demoralizing 3-touchdown deficit. Oklahoma halfback Clinton Thomas bowled 13 yards through 3 tacklers to score after fullback linebacker Dennett Morris fell on a fumble by Panthers quarterback Caledon on first play after second half kickoff. When Pitt halfback Dick Haley lost fumble again on first play at the ensuing kickoff, Dodd fired 17-yard score to end Don Stiller. North Carolina State beat North Carolina 7-0 as North Carolina State's defense was led by guard Frank Toker, tackled Darrell Detz, and end Bob Pepe to hold Tar Heels to 148 yards of offense. Halfback Dick Hunter charged 5 yards for first quarter touchdown for Wolfpack after quarterback Frank Kakovich set it up with an odd 50-yard run from his own 28-yard line. NC State fullback Wally Prince was halted but pitched surprise lateral to Kakovich, who raced down left sideline to the University of North Carolina 22-yard line. So even after Kakovich's long game touchdown drive seemed halted by North Carolina halfback defensive back Emil DeCantis interception, but it was nullified by defensive holding penalty. NC State stopped 3 Tar Heels scoring chances with its stout defense. Duke, the number 10 team in the country, beat South Carolina by a score of 26-14 as the Gamecocks opened scoring with 80-yard touchdown march in the second quarter, capped by a 2-yard run up the middle by little halfback King Dixon, who had 46 yards on 12 carries. Duke tied it in the second quarter as quarterback Pryor Milner sneaked 1 yard after fumble recovery at the Carolina 25-yard line. Blue Devils turned up the heat to dominate second half as halfback George Dutro circled in for a 7-yard touchdown. Quarterback Bob Broadhead wedged 1 yard for touchdown. And halfback Ray Carlton, who had 93 yards on 12 carries, sprinted 12 yards to pay dirt for a 26-7 lead. West Virginia played against Virginia, where this matchup ended in a tie. 6-6. Underdog Virginia threw back 2 touchdown dive attempts from its 1-yard line by West Virginia fullback Larry Kukoc in first quarter, but was surprised by Mountaineers quarterback Mickey Tron Markey's long touchdown heave to halfback Ralph Anastasio that went for 62 yards touchdown just before halftime. Trailing 6-0, Virginia went 80 yards in 10 plays to tie it with 3:10 left in the fourth quarter. So quarterback Nelson Yarbrough sneaked over after little halfback Carl Moser raced 22 yards and caught a 5-yard pass on a march, also paced by fullback Jim Bactiar. Game ended with 2 failed plunges by Cavaliers after Pat Whitaker caught pass at West Virginia University 2-yard line. Texas defeated Georgia by a score of 26-7. A tricky split T offense arrived at Texas as Darrell Royals' coaching era began. Longhorns fullback Mike Dowdle scored twice. Quarterback Walt Fondren once. New Georgia quarterback Charlie Britt experienced hot and cold day, but was able to trim deficit to 13-7 with 5-yard touchdown pass to halfback Jimmy Orr in third quarter. Longhorns sub quarterback Bobby Lackey contributed touchdown sneak to ice it in the fourth quarter. Rice beat Louisiana State by a score of 20-14 as the Owls won for the first time in Baton Rouge since 1935, but seemingly improved LSU held 14-7 lead going into the fourth quarter. The Tigers fullback Jimmy Taylor bowled for a 1-yard touchdown in first quarter and raced 13 yards for a score in the second quarter. Rice used balanced offensive passes by quarterbacks Frank Ryan and King Hill, blended with power runs of halfback Pat Bailey and fullback Ray Chilton to tally twice in fourth quarter. Ryan ended 52-yard drive with touchdown sneak early in the fourth quarter, and with less than 3 minutes to go, Owls won it on swift 51-yard strike. Hill passed 35 yards to end Buddy Dowd, and Chilton roared 16 yards for game-winning touchdown. Vanderbilt and Missouri matchup resulted in a 7-7 tie. As center linebacker Tom Swaney of Missouri stepped in front of flat pass by Commodores quarterback Boyce Smith, who was under heavy pressure from fullback linebacker Hank Coleman. Sped 51 yards to score in opening 90 seconds. Normally reliable Smith avoided his Vanderbilt's team's scoring threat by losing fumble at the Tigers' 35-yard line on next series. But Mizzou quarterback Phil Snowden gave it right back by fumbling at Vandy's 31-yard line. Starting late in the first quarter, Commodores went 69 yards to tie it. Halfback Phil King gained 14 yards. Fullback Jim Butler swept for 13 yards to the Tigers' 33-yard line, and Butler was battered ahead on 4 of next 6 plays and 23 yards, including a 1-yard touchdown to tie it. Quick kicks by Mizzou halfback punter Bob Haas, and Vandy's King dominated second half, but each team threatened once before turning it over. At the Missouri defensive tackle Owen Worcester fell on a fumble at Vandy's 28-yard line late in the third quarter, as quarterback Ken Clemenson dropped the ball as he was hit before he could hand off. Commodores drove to Mizzou 20-yard line, but halfback Tom Moore lost fumble to defensive back Snowden. Washington State beat Nebraska 34-12 as Cougars quarterback Bobby Newman caught 74-yard pass to end Don Ellingson to open the game, and even though play was called back by a penalty, it was disagreeable harbinger for first-year Nebraska coach Bill Jennings. Nebraska struggled on pass defense throughout the first half as Newman hit 2 touchdowns and his understudy, quarterback Bunny Aldrich, pitched a 26-yard score to end Gail Cogdill for 20-6 lead. Cornhuskers drew to within 20-12 on the quarterback Harry Talley's 1-yard touchdown run in third quarter. Talley's tally came as a result of a lost fumble by Mizzou, but Huskers soon returned favor. Next turnover allowed Slick Newman's third touchdown connection to end Jack Fanning list of 10 yards, giving Washington State an insurmountable lead at 27-12 in the third quarter. Texas Christian and Kansas resulted in a tie, 13-13, as driving rain pelted down on Amon Carter Stadium as visiting Kansas scored with no time left. Jayhawks kicker Ray Barnes failed to connect on conversion kick. Texas Christian simply owned first half, accepting give touchdown, making long touchdown drive, and walking off at halftime with a 207 yards to 4 yards offense advantage. So in opening 3 minutes, punt snap had been fired overhead of Kansas end punter Jim Lekavics and was recovered at 3-yard line by Horned Frogs guard John Mitchell. Fullback Buddy Dyke powered over on the third down for 7-0 lead. TCU halfback Jim Schaffner, 106 yards and 12 carries and a touchdown, capped 78-yard voyage in second quarter. But fullback kicker Jack Spice had his extra point blocked when bad snap delayed his kicking effort in the third quarter. Penalty pinned purple in his province, and consequential punt was propelled only to 40-yard line. On the ensuing third down, Jayhawks quarterback Bob Marshall tossed short to halfback Charlie McHugh, who maneuvered 34 yards to pay dirt. Kansas' supposed best throw, quarterback Wally Strauch, connected on a 30-yard completion to halfback Don Feller to get late drive going, but Marshall came off bench for the last play and to find in Lekavics in corner of end zone for touchdown. Number 2, Texas A&M beat Maryland by a score of 21-13. Texas A&M quarterback defensive back Roddy Osborne blocked critical Terps extra point, kick beating score at 14-13 in favor of Aggies midway in the fourth quarter. Osborne had contributed early touchdown run in first quarter and go-ahead 7-yard scoring toss to end John Tracy in the fourth quarter. So on its first possession, Maryland had earned a 7-7 deadlock that would hold up until halftime. Defensive back Howard Dare who had a touchdown and an interception, brought back kickoff 29 yards, and quarterback Dickie Lewis slanted 3 yards for touchdown off of right tackle Fred Cole's block. Terrapin's aerial game was turned into disaster by rain and the wind, losing only 3 yards on 1-7 passing. Bad weather hurt Terp's strategy, according to Coach Tommy Mott. We kicked off with the wind to begin the second half, but we suddenly found wind, rain, Aggies staring at us in the face. Texas A&M halfback John David Crow wrenched his knee on last play of the first quarter when hit hard by defensive tackle Cole, and it would stymie him throughout his senior year. But Crow will win the Heisman Trophy and vote that recognizes his career achievements. Next, Houston upset number 14 Miami Hurricanes by a score of 7-0. Excellence on defense was a surprising ingredient for Houston Cougars in their debut under new coach Hal Lahart. Sophomore guard linebacker Joe Glass led Houston's defense, but as Hurricanes coach Andy Gustafson pointed out, it was their second unit that beat us, as halfback defensive back Don Brown, nose guard Charles Caffrey, and defensive tackle John Peters so dominated Miami's backup squad that Gustafson had to employ his regulars to exhaustion. Sophomore halfback defensive back Claude King got Houston rolling to game's only touchdown in the second quarter by falling on a fumble at Cougars' 48-yard line. So King ran 21 yards on reverse to set up halfback Hal Lewis' 26-yard touchdown flight up the middle when King, fullback Owen Mulholland, guard Bird Davis made great blocks. So Miami was led by sophomore quarterback Fran Kirchie, who ran 11 times for 77 yards on options, but Kane's passing showed awful with 0 yards passing and interception on 2 of 7 passing. Oregon State, number 13 team in the country, shut out number 19 Southern California by a score of 20-0 in Portland. Defending Luke champion Oregon State ruined coaching debut of Troy's Don Clark as the Beavers drove 71, 80, and 70 yards to touchdowns after their scoreless first quarter to capture their first win over the Trojans since 1946. Oregon State fullback Nub Beamer had 123 yards rushing on 23 carries, scored on a 2-yard plunge in the second quarter, and 31 yards outside cut sprint in the fourth quarter. The most spectacular play came on in Dwayne Fournier's 44-yard double reverse run, handed from tailback Joe Francis to wingback Ernell Durden, who had 68 yards on 10 carries to Fournier in the third quarter. USC was throttled by a big Beavers line, especially defensive tackles Dave Jesmer and Ted Bates, gaining only 170 yards and punting 8 times. And finally, Washington and Colorado matchup ended in a tie, 6-6. Visiting from Rockies, Buffalo's gained mountains of yards between 20-yard lines, but couldn't cash in sufficiently to go home with a win over favored Washington. Colorado scored in first quarter when it successfully juggled its single wing power with T-formation Gal to move 37 yards to fullback Leroy Clark's unusual 11-yard touchdown run up the middle. Clark lost ball as he hit hole, but it dribbled right back in his hands in time to bowl over Huskies defensive back Carver Gaten. Colorado wingback quarterback Eddie Dove was 2 years away from good NFL career as the defensive back was beaten deep by Washington halfback Dick Pacino for tying 58-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Bobby Dunn in the second quarter. In third quarter, Buffalo's defensive tackle Jack Heimo Wright twice stole ball from Dunn. Each time Colorado made it to 5-yard line, Buffalo's first surge died on the downs, and when Dunn soon was pickpocketed again, Colorado's field goal try was made too long by 2 penalties and sack of quarterback Boyd Dollar. New Huskies coach Jim Owens predictably uttered his fraternity's favorite post-deadlock quote, "A tie is like kissing your sister." So that concludes a look at the week that was, the games that were played on September 20th. One game was played on Friday, and looking at the games that were played on Saturday, September 21st, 1957, the week that was, week 1 of the 1957 season. I was looking at the AP poll. September 23rd, 1957 had Oklahoma at number 1. Number 2, Texas A&M. Number 3, Georgia Tech. Number 4, Michigan State. Number 5, Navy. Number 6, Minnesota. Number 7, Duke. Number 8, Tennessee. Number 9, Oregon State. Michigan was number 10. Number 11 was Baylor. Number 12, Iowa. Number 13, Texas. Number 14 was Houston. Number 15 was Southern Methodist. There was a tie for the 16th spot between Pittsburgh and Stanford. Number 18 was Rice. And a tie for the number 19 spot between Mississippi and Penn State. So that concludes a look at the week that was, the games that were played on September 20th and September 21st, 1957, week 1 of the 1957 college football season. Please like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you can to support the channel. Like, subscribe, comment, support the channel. I deeply appreciate it. I'll do a video dealing with this series tomorrow. This is week 1 of the college football season, September 21st, 1957. Until then, talk to you tomorrow.